Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to yet another edition, another taping of Notes from the Pastor Cave. And I'm kind of excited tonight. Now, we usually don't do these at night because the lighting can be a little sketchy. But I'm very excited to announce that we're dealing with a new camera tonight, and I think you can see that camera is quite a bit sharper. You can tell it makes me look older. You can see more of the lines, and for a geek who likes to do this kind of stuff, this is very exciting for me to have a new little camera to work with, and it appears to be played with it just a little bit here and there, and it appears to be working really well, and hopefully will enhance this broadcast. And the broadcast is called Notes from the Pastor Cave. And here we are in the Pastor Cave looking very cavey tonight because it's after dark. And as I said, I don't usually like to do these after dark, but the day just did not afford me the opportunity to take care of it during the day today. Something kept coming up. We're in Exodus chapter 18, and I'm actually going to try very hard to get through all of chapter 18 tonight. And it really revolves around two characters. There's Moses, and he's kind of pretty much been there all along. And then there's this guy named Jethro. And Jethro is not the son on the Beverly Hillbillies. He's a different Jethro. And this Jethro is the father-in-law of Moses. So you remember that when Moses was kicked out of Egypt, he went and wandered for 40 years. He met a girl, he got married. This is his father-in-law. And his father-in-law is identified as the priest of Midian. So there's this land of Midian, and Jethro is considered to be the priest of that. And the best that we can kind of work with is that Jethro is he's a guy that believes in the one true God. He might identify him as Yahweh or Jehovah, but there's not much more of a relationship there. We run into a few of these characters throughout the Old Testament. And he also you'll find out later on, he believes in other gods. He's not, he would not be like an orthodox. There would not be orthodoxy in his doctrine or his ideas or his theology, probably a better term, his theology of God. But he does consider himself to be a priest of the one true God, even though for him, that's kind of all shrouded in darkness. And he comes along, and the Israelites and Moses, they're moving on further and further away from Egypt, and Jethro comes down, and it says here right at the beginning, Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for Israel his people, and how the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt. Okay, and so there's a factor here. There's something here that's going on that we really should understand and really need to know about, is that as followers of God, Old Testament, it's Yahweh. We understand him better as Jesus in the New Testament. But as followers of God, as followers of the one true God, our fame should precede us. Our fame should precede us, okay? Not our obnoxiousness, not our intolerance, not our hatreds, right? There's so many things. I spoke to a guy one time, and he had a big party, and like his whole family was there except his parents. And I said, "Where's your parents?" And he said, my parents. I had never met them. He said, "My parents are people who are defined by their hatreds." And I thought, wow. That is we who call ourselves followers of God. We often now sometimes that's Sometimes that's pop culture. Sometimes that's what I call the pop media that does that to us. But sometimes we're our own worst enemy with that, where we allow ourselves to be defined by our hatreds. Okay, what should precede us is the fame of God, our fame as followers of God. Jethro has heard about all of this stuff, and Jethro is drawn to this community because of what he has heard that God has done through them. And that's exactly what our frontline witness is supposed to be to people who don't want to follow God, people who don't follow God, or people who are searching. Our frontline witness should be a fame that goes before us about lives changed, and about hearts changed, and about difficulties changed, and about bodies changed. Right? I've received a number of wonderful healings in my life, and one in particular, I told God when it happened. I said, God, I'm going to tell. Anytime I get a chance, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to let the world know what you have done for me and what you have done to my body. And so our fame should precede us. Now, here's something interesting. When we skip down to verse 6, and when he sent word to Moses, he says, I, your father-in-law Jethro, am coming to you with your wife and her 2 sons with her. Okay, so Moses had left his wife with Jethro and the children with Jethro, and now he's coming. And that's the customary in that time, is that they kind of announce, a few hours ahead of time or a day ahead of time that they're going to be coming. And so it says Moses went out to meet his father-in-law and bowed down and kissed him. Okay. What does that tell you? That tells you the humility of the man Moses. Okay, this guy is, he ends up being one of the patriarchs of the Old Testament. He's one of the most famous of all Jewish men. He's one of the most famous figures in all of Middle Eastern history. And he's got to know by now that, he obviously can't see into the future, but he's got to know by now that his life is going to be pretty famous amongst his people. And yet he shows respect when Jethro comes. He's the one that bows down. He doesn't say, hey, I'm a big shot now. You need to bow down to me. He gives Jethro the respect his due for the fact that Jethro is his elder and that he's his father-in-law, and so he bows down to him. So fascinating little piece that really shows the personality of Moses there, and really shows the humility of Moses. That's just, I'm kind of moving right along here. And then, and I like the end of verse 7. So Moses bowed down and kissed him, and then they asked each other of their welfare, and then went into the tent. All right, so they meet up and say, Moses, how you doing? I'm doing pretty well, right? How about you? Oh yeah, I've been okay. Hey, camel's still running well? Yeah, the camel's running great. It's getting kind of high miles on it, but it's still doing. Just a couple of guys shooting the breeze, and then they go on into the tent. Okay, and then there starts this something else that happened in verse 8. Moses told his father-in-law all that the Lord had done to Pharaoh and to the Egyptians for Israel's sake, all the hardship that they had come upon them on the way, and how the Lord had delivered them. And Jethro rejoiced for all the good that the Lord had done to Israel, in that he had delivered them out of the hand of the Egyptians. So what we have here, Jethro's already heard something, okay? But now he gets to sit face to face with Moses. And this is, I have in my notes here, this is the power of testimony, okay? It's important to know Bible doctrine. It's important to know your scriptures. It's important to memorize scripture. It's important to be able to walk people through what the scriptures say. But the most powerful thing that you're ever going to do to make God famous is that when you're talking with somebody about God, that you testify. That you testify about what God has done for you. And this is exactly what Moses does, okay? He adds to God's fame in the eyes of Jethro by just very simply going through the testimony. Hey, this is what God did. This is what we faced. This was, this is where the deliverance came. This is another miracle that God did, and then another miracle that God did, another miracle. And Jethro is so blown away by the end of this is that he rejoices for all the good that God. So he's rejoicing in the Lord. And we don't even, his relationship with God is sketchy at best. We can't really say for sure, but we do know this, that Jethro rejoices in the Lord after Moses gives his testimony. Really super important point here. And then it says Jethro bless the Lord who had delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians and out of the hand of Pharaoh. Right? He's worshiping right in front of Moses and the rest of the community here, and delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods. Okay. This is one testimony. It's a great testimony. It's a great story. But one testimony, and Jethro understands that the one true God is greater than all of these other gods that he's been believing in probably most of his life. So now I know the Lord is greater than all gods, because in this affair they dealt arrogantly with the people. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, brought a burnt offering as sacrifices to God, and Aaron came with all the elders of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before God. So they threw a feast, and they had some food, and there's a little factor there called the Mikdash Miyat that we talked about before when we went all the way back to the first Passover, and this idea of sitting down at the table with God, with the understanding that God is also at the table, and making a little temple out of that as we eat together. That's the presence of God coming down into the meal. Okay, so they're rejoicing in the Lord. They're rejoicing together. And then I just got a couple minutes left here. What happens here is that Jethro now adds to the community. So he's seen the testimony. He's heard the fame of God. He's seen the testimony. And now he's going to add to God's community with some advice. He's an elder. And, Moses is out there every day, and he's listening to every single legal case. We're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 6 million people, okay? Moses is out there. There's a long line of people down the, down the road, waiting to see Moses. Hey, he took my spoon. No, I didn't take your spoon. It was my spoon to begin. That kind of stuff. And he made me have a hangnail, and no, I didn't. I only shook his hand. Yeah, they just all of these disputes. And Jethro says, "What are you doing? You're the leader of this community. You're the leader of this huge group. You can't do this. This is going to wear you out. This is going to kill you, guy." And he says, "Look, what you need to do is you need to find qualified men who know this law that you're beginning to lay down, and men that you can train and who will accept you as a guide. But then they will go out." And they will hold court. They will go out and judge cases. And so Jethro, in just a short period of time, because he gets excited about what God has done for some people that aren't even his, but he gets so excited about that he now adds wisdom. He adds to the community. He adds to what they're doing. So that is Exodus chapter 18 in a very, very tiny nutshell. So I say to you tonight, hope that you enjoy the new camera. Vita brevis gloria eterna. Life is short. Glory is eternal.